morning.
Good morning.
Will you please stand for our invocation? We are now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. We acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. In thy divine wisdom, now erase our mortal limitations, and from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation our world according to thy perfect law. And our Lord's Prayer, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and power, and glory forever. Amen. Will you please turn to page 13, hymn number 13, All Hail the Power. relax. How fortunate we are to be able to join together in unity with each other and with Spirit. This is your time to realize your oneness with all. We don't think about it. We are it. We are one with God. There is only one power and one presence in the universe, God the Omnipotent. And this is your time to realize that you are part of this oneness and power. It is in you. It is everywhere. So for a moment, now rest in the silence of prayer and oneness with God. This is your time, your special time, to go within and to experience your oneness with Spirit. So relax even more and know that this is the blessed state wherein you can enjoy now the peace and love abiding. And whenever you remember, just stop and go back to it during the day. This peace and love will be there waiting for you. It is like going into your inner cathedral whenever you need to. You need not think or feel, just be here now in the silence. Let God lead you and teach you. Open your heart to God's wisdom and guidance. Whatever issues you are dealing with right now, open up to God's answers. As it says in Psalms 25, lead me in your truth and teach me. So become still and let go and let God. Relax into that stillness. Listen to the stillness. And now completely relax into that silence. Your spiritual journey begins with silence and prayer. From this quiet is born the experience of the presence of Spirit. This silence will allow you to travel far on your spiritual path and reach an awareness of God that supersedes the need for words. Drink in the silence and the higher vibrations. Take in God's guidance so that each action you take and every thought you think will reflect God's wisdom, power, and love. At moments like these and in this silence, you are able to truly access your Christ consciousness that is within. With this consciousness, you begin to see clearly. You see your own divinity. You see the divinity in others. And you understand that under our seeming imperfections is God, waiting to manifest through us. You may not know what tomorrow will bring, but you do know that by living a life of prayer, each moment is sacred with God, and that you will be safe and secure. You allow this truth of the divine order and essence of all life to set the tone for your whole day and your week, and you are grateful for the Spirit of God that surrounds you, and for your awareness of this treasure. You feel the Spirit of God as a sacred presence that inspires and refreshes and guides and protects you. You clearly see the divinity at these times, the divinity that is in you. Like Jesus, you declare, God and I are one. As you look at the faces of those around you during the week, you will see magnificent creations of God. This spark of life which twinkles in the eyes of others is the same divine spark which radiates from within your soul. You look in the mirror and you see that spark of light twinkling in your eye. Every plant, every animal, every person is testimony to the Spirit of God, which is all there is. There is only one presence and one power in the universe. God, the God energy. Because of this realization, you work in harmony with all of God's creatures. You have hope. Whether you are basking in the warmth of the sun or listening to raindrops falling upon the earth, you are reminded that God's presence is always available for you and for all Earth's inhabitants. As Jesus said in Matthew 28, remember, I am with you always. In the silence, you listen for this presence of God. You listen in the silence for guidance from God. Before taking any action, you get quiet. Go within to your inner cathedral and ask for God's guidance. God speaks in a language that your heart can hear. Words, intellectual concepts, logic, and ego constructs don't access this higher wisdom and eternal laws. Silence and oneness with the oneness of all life, prayer and meditation, are the tools which provide that access. The Tao of truth that can be spoken is not the truth. Truth is beyond concepts and dogma. Truth is. And this business cannot be understood intellectually. It can be merged with in the stillness, though. As you prepare to leave this quiet town, know that you have been blessed with the wisdom from one power, the only power in the universe. This omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence are ever available to you. You need only come back to the silence and access your oneness with the divine, which is always there for you. Simply go within to that inner space, that inner cathedral. Let God be your partner in all your undertakings and in all your decisions this week. Let God be your inspiration and your light. Stay open to God's right answers. Be fearless and secure, knowing that hope, help, and harmony are always available. Now, as you slowly begin to open your physical eyes, reconnect to living a higher order of life, knowing that you are loved, protected, and guided through this coming week, and that you will more and more see the divine order of all things. And so it is. Will you please stand and turn to hymn 48, Always With Me. 48. Introduce our intern, Stephen Fleming, who will be giving the truth lesson today.
bag up here. This morning around 8:30, so I was leaving where I stay when I'm here in New Orleans, and I was on my way to church. I wanted to get here bright and early so I could get ready, and I started hearing this scraping sound underneath my car. And so I'm just like, what? So I pull the car over, and so I see this thing that's connected to something underneath my car, and it's like dragging on the ground. I could have just drove here, just dragging on the ground, or what. I could have done that, because nothing was gonna stop me from coming here and delivering this talk this morning. Not anything, not a herd of wild horses, nothing. So I'm a problem solver by nature. And so immediately, I know to go to the God in me to solve all things. And so ideas begin to pop into my consciousness as far as what to do in this particular situation. So to make a long story short, here is what was underneath my car. And so I got some meat cleavers, which I'll no longer use to cut the meat. And so I began to cut this thing, this flat thing, or whatever it is, made out of plastic from underneath my car. Nothing can stop the God in you. Nothing. So this Sunday is the second Sunday in the season of Lent. And I found something on truthunity.net from the Fillmore Bible Society Metaphysical Lectionary. Didn't even know this existed until I was looking for something about Lent. And so I read something there that pertains to this Sunday. It said, faith is awakened by the lifting of human consciousness to a higher place and responding to what is revealed. Isn't that powerful? Faith is awakened by the lifting of human consciousness to a higher place. Not the status quo consciousness. Not the place where we, in the field of energy that we regularly swim, to a higher place, and then responding to what is revealed. Well, this Sunday we're going to talk about the devil. Many of my colleagues wouldn't go anywhere near this subject with a 10-foot pole. Okay? But, I'm an intern, so, I was like, I do anything I want. So, all right. So it's important to point out, number one, the original books in the Bible made no reference to a devil. The original books in the Bible prior to the Reconstruction period, the Persian era, made no reference whatsoever about a devil. Okay, so where did the devil come from? All right, so that's what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to talk about the original books of the Bible, because the original books of the Bible did talk about, because in monotheism, there's only two players in monotheism. There's God and there's mankind. That's it. Anytime you start putting something else in there, it's no longer monotheism. Okay? So, however, there were references to aspects that live within us that are in opposition to divine will. It was described that way in the Aramaic text, and it was described as the Satan. But it was not talking about a figure. It was not talking about what this idea of Satan has evolved into today. It was talking about our impulses. So the Satan was actually in the original Hebrew text, where it talks as far as Genesis, as far as the story in the Garden of Eden. the Satan was there. Okay? And so, if you want to believe that it was talking about two people, okay, that's fine. Because this talk is not about going against what you believe. I'm just here to let you know how it was originally intended by the Hebrews and the people that wrote it. So, in that Garden of Eden, which was referring to a consciousness that we had attained that we had at that time. It was stated that there was one thing that we were not to do to stay in that consciousness, and that is we were not to judge. Okay? However, the tempter, we were tempted to judge. We had impulses to judge. We had impulses to judge. Our personality has impulses. Okay? So the Satan, because in the original Aramaic text, it does talk about the Satan. Okay? But it was referring not to a figure, it was referring to our own impulses to do what we want to do, even though the original people were told that this is what you are not to do, because then as soon as you do it, you will die. Okay? And essentially that's what took them from Eden-like consciousness, but this talk is not about that. But it was referring to our impulses. The impulses of the personality. That's what the original books of the Bible, when they made reference to the Satan, okay, it was referring to our original impulses to do things that are in opposition to divine will. That's what it's talking about. So I just want to make sure we're on the same page, because there's a whole lot to unpack here. Okay? So I just want to make sure, are we all on the same page right now so far? Yeah. Okay, all right. So, now I'm going to take you in time. Our consciousness, because keep in mind, our consciousness is not bound by time or space. We can take our consciousness anywhere. So allow me to escort your consciousness back to before the exilic period. Okay, before the exilic period. I want to let you know what was happening before the exilic period, which is basically when Babylon conquered Jerusalem and destroyed the first temple and sent the children of Israel into exile. But before then, I want to take you to what was going on so that you can understand what the consciousness was. Now, first of all, one of the challenges that you have when you have a monotheistic religion, which is one God, and this God is perceived in an outside manner, like an outside God. It's not perceived as like a God in us. It's perceived like an out there God, that protects us, that, we can basically pray to and we can, I guess, influence this outside God to do what we want it to do, I guess. Okay? So one of the problems that has with that is one of the problems that occurs is that when you have disasters and suffering and things like that, a question began to arise in the people of Israel at that time. It's like, how could God allow these things to happen? Okay? How could God, this outside God who's our protector, who's supposed to do this and supposed to do that because we're faithful to him and things like that, how could God allow these things to happen? We've had these conversations today. As a minister, people have come to me confidentially with this same question. So don't think that we are any different from people that were in 6th century BCE. Okay, we're the same people, just different time. Okay, you with me so far? Okay, so this question was there, it just wasn't answered. Okay, people tried to answer things like that. Then in 586 BCE, the children of Israel, their world was shattered when Babylon conquered Jerusalem and destroyed the first temple in 586 BCE. Their world was shattered. They thought that their God would protect them. The survivors of that really had difficulty reconciling what they experienced during that time. So, now you already know what it says in the Bible, but this is what actually happened. There are instances in the Bible that actually happen. There's a lot of non-literal things as well, because it's from a point of view of the spiritual leaders of the children of Israel. But there were definitely historical events that took place, like what I am describing right now. And so the children of Israel were sent in exile. And they were in exile from 586 BCE until Persian liberation in 539 BCE. They were in exile. All right? So, at this point, a second theodicy, from 586 to 539 BC began to develop in the minds of the people, was that if God wasn't responsible for this, then perhaps there were other forces in the cosmos that were responsible for this, that were preventing God from fulfilling his promise to the children of Israel. This was the next theology. This is how they were experiencing, this was their worldview at the time. So they saw things shattered, at 586 BCE. All right? 586 BCE to 539 BCE, it was pretty rough for the children of Israel. Because in Babylon, they weren't treated very well. So, when the Persians conquered Babylon, they freed the children of Israel. They were freed. Okay? And King Cyrus basically allowed them to follow their own customs and worship their own God. So they treated them like citizens of Persia, basically. Now, during this time, there was an intermingling of cultures. This is what is very difficult to find, as far as this part. There was an intermingling of cultures during this time. Now, as opposed to the children of Israel, who had one God, the Persians had many gods. Many gods. And as you had intermarrying and things like that, and people are having children together, people aren't just giving up their culture. No, children are being taught both cultures. So they're being taught cultures of many gods as far as in Persia, and they're being taught about the one God, Yahweh. They're being taught both. It's the same thing that happens today. So you have to take your consciousness and what would actually happen, okay, and we were mixing with, whatever it is that we have, whatever it is that this other culture has, there's going to be an intermixing. That's exactly what happened. That's what happened today, and that's exactly what happened. You take people, like, for example, that are different cultures today, and they have children. They teach the children both cultures. Both cultures. So, in Persia, there was an answer to the question, to the prevailing question, which started as why would God allow these things to happen? And perhaps there are cosmic forces, that are in opposition. It was answered in the Persian, in Zoroastrianism. Okay? And they had a god named Ahriman. 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 Ahriman was the Lord of darkness, the Lord of destruction, Lord of chaos. He was in direct opposition to Ahura Mazda, which was the supreme deity in Zoroastrianism. He was the direct opponent of Ahura Mazda. And Ahriman was also known as Angra Mainyu, which that was the direct opponent of Spencer Mainyu, which was good spirit. So Angra Mainyu was dark spirit, Spencer Mainyu was good spirit. So they found the answer in the Persian religion. So Ahriman basically took on the Satan and became the embodiment of the Satan. Do your research, and it's very difficult, but there is information, but do your research. I would highly recommend you do your research. Okay? Ahriman was a Persian guy. There was intermingling in the culture when the children of Israel were set free by King Cyrus. Connect the dots. Connect the dots. So, fast forward, King Cyrus, with his royal decree, basically said, go and rebuild your homeland. Okay? So, at that point, a number of books began to be written in the Bible that now, after 539 BCE, that now had a new character, a new player in the game. Okay? Do your research. All these books, they know when these books were written, and they'll tell you, this book was written between this period, and the books, like the book of Job. The book of Job was written after 539 BCE. Okay, again, they were in, this is about before the rededication of the temple. The book of Zechariah, which also, has the devil as a figure, was also written in 539 BCE. There were a couple of other books that were also written after 539 BCE. And so we have a new player in the Bible. This was the perfect explanation that the children of Israel needed at the time as far as why they had not received the fulfillment of the promise. Why haven't we received the fulfillment of this promise? Why? What's going on? Now we know. Okay? So, now we have Satan as a figure. And now it's no longer the Satan, it's Hasatan, which is referring to a figure. And we're talking about the original Aramaic text. Okay, but it's referring to a figure now. And dealing with an individual figure now. So, they went to rebuild Jerusalem, and they enjoyed hundreds of years of peace. Hundreds of years of peace, with the Persians. The Persians were their protectors at that point, but they, rebuilt Jerusalem. They rededicated the Second Temple in 515 BCE. And so they enjoyed this period of peace all the way until 333 BCE, where Persia was conquered by Alexander the Great and his Macedonian Empire. And that began the Hellenistic period, which basically ushered in Rome. The Macedonian Empire basically became Rome. After Alexander the Great died, it just gradually evolved into Rome and the Roman army. That was a big period of great suffering, from 333 BCE all the way to 70 CE, Common Era. This is what happened with the devil being included in the Bible. Of course, now after 333 BCE, then we had the book of Daniel that was written that began to give angels names for the first time. Now we have angels like, Michael and Gabriel. Now we have angels, like there's an angel called the Nameless One, who this was like he was depicted as a bad angel. Things like that. That's in the book of Daniel. That was written between 333 and 170 BCE. It's important to understand that the Bible is not about God. The Bible is not about God. If you thought it was about God, I'm sorry to be the one to break that news to you. Okay? The Bible is about our understanding and relationship with God. And it's a recording of our understanding and relationship with God. So, for example, in the Old Testament, God is depicted based on our understanding and relationship with God as somewhat of a violent and vengeful God. And then later on in the New Testament, thousands of years later, God is depicted as a God of love based on our understanding and relationship. God didn't go through therapy. We raised our consciousness over that period of time. I'm just here to answer questions. That's all I'm here to do. Everybody's had questions like this. Unity teaches us one principle. Unity, for primary unity principle number one. There is only God. But something, as human beings, we're still curious. What about the other guy? Let's be honest. As human beings, we're curious. Well, what about that? Well, we're not supposed to talk about that. Not in unity, but come on. So I just want to basically just share it all. Just speak the truth and let the chips fall where they may. And I say all this even though I know that the devil is firmly established in many of our brothers and sisters' belief systems. I'm not here to mess with your beliefs. I'm just here to give you a historical accounting of what happened. Whatever you choose to believe, what you choose to believe. So, what does all this mean for us, though? See, that's the important part. What does this mean for us? Because what did the devil mean for the children of Israel? Well, in the 16th century, in the book of Leviticus, 16th century BCE, in the book of Leviticus, it talks about the ritual where one of the priests of Aaron takes two goats, and what they do is they sacrifice one goat, and the other goat, one of the priests of Aaron whispers to the goat all of the sins of the community. He whispers it. And then they take the goat in the wilderness and set it free to bear the sins of the community. That's where the term scapegoat came from. That's what the devil is. A scapegoat. It's a scapegoat. Just another scapegoat. You have to understand why scapegoats are important when you're seeing things from the outside and not seeing the beauty that lives in the inside. As far as an outside guide, and you're not understanding how your thoughts are contributing to certain areas, to certain aspects of things that are showing up in your life, you have no idea what's happening. So at that point, see, how human consciousness works is the mind still tries to find ways to reconcile with itself. It wants to perceive itself as good. It has a mentally constructed self-image, and it wants to adhere to that. Now, human beings are 80% negative. National Science Institute, 80% negative. 80% negative thoughts. 90% repetitive thoughts. Now, the mind wants to perceive itself as good, however. But it has these thoughts, because the average human being has 80% negative thoughts. So, what happens with the mind that doesn't go within? So, see, the mind that goes within is a mind that basically regularly cleans house. It basically observes what's going on in its thoughts, and then it can then say, okay, no, that's not me, and begin to forget it and work on it. But the mind that continues to go without, that doesn't want to look within, it wants to look any place but within, it just wants to continue to look outside and things like that. What that mind will begin to do is play tricks on itself. It'll play magic tricks. So what it will do is it will create defense mechanisms to keep whatever negative thoughts that go against the mentally constructed self-image out of the conscious awareness. So it's like, you're looking over there and it's over here. And then you look over there, it's over there. So the mind continually does magic tricks with itself. Then the mind begins to search its environment for symbols that it can, because it's still feeling discontent. So symbols that it can, that can be a good candidate for its discontent that it feels. So that these symbols can be people, these symbols can be situations, these symbols can be events. And so it has certain triggers, because of these things that it has within, and it's looking in the outside, constantly searching the outside to see if there's something, that it doesn't like per se. And then it finds the perfect candidate, the perfect scapegoat for why it thinks that it's upset, for why it thinks that it's this, and why it thinks that this is happening. Those people, whoever those people are to you, they carry the majority of these things. Those people, whoever those people are in your consciousness, those are the scapegoats for you. Whoever they are, the scapegoats. So that we can feel better about ourselves. It's not me, it's them. I'm upset. Well, why are you upset? Because this person said blah, 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 blah. Or this person did blah, 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 blah. Or because, such and such, the senator did blah, 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 blah to this other senator, blah, 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 blah. We try to find reasons for the discontent that we already feel. And it's almost like it's a way, like a mechanism to let off some steam. This is the psychology of the mind. This is how the mind works. This is psychology that they knew about back when they did the whole scapegoat thing, as far as in Leviticus, in 16th century BCE, they knew about the psychology of the mind. So, I say all of that because, if that's your journey, then so be it. If you want to just continue to look outside, because I'm going to tell you right now, there's nothing out there. The only thing you're seeing out there is your own reflection. I've said this before. Out there is just your reflection. Whoever it is that you're getting upset, you get upset with your own reflection. That's it. That's a difficult thing. That's a difficult thing to swallow, because, again, we have these defense mechanisms that are built up in our mind that work against that. It's a very difficult thing to swallow. But I'm going to tell you, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. But I know it's hard. I know it's hard. I went skydiving a couple of years ago. And my partner, she paid for it. It was for a birthday present. And so she was like, how did you just...
Wonder what she was thinking.
She was like, how did you just step out of that airplane? I said, well, and this is literally what I said. I said, well, all the work that I've been doing on myself as far as facing my own shadows and facing my own demons and things like that, I said, that was a whole lot harder than stepping out on the airplane. So I know it's hard. I know it's hard. But I'm going to tell you right now, oh my God, it is so worth it. It is so worth it. So we have a choice. We can continue to project on other people and make them responsible and have no power. No power whatsoever. Be powerless. Be victims. That's a choice. We can choose that. Or we can be infinitely powerful. We can know that we and our Father are one. That the God in us can do all things. There is nothing that you cannot do. You can accomplish anything. I don't care what you think you can't do. You can do it. I don't care what it is. You can do it. But you have to raise that consciousness to a higher place where the when the reality of doing it becomes possible. You cannot keep your consciousness in the same place of impossibility. No, you have to take your consciousness and put it in a place into the realm of impossibility to make it possible. And you can do that. And you won't need any devil to blame any shortcomings or any misfortunes on, because you will realize that it was just a learning opportunity. It was a growth opportunity. You realize that this is nothing. You can overcome anything. I'll just do it again. You will not sit there and be helpless. You will be infinitely powerful. That's who you are. Know who you are. I was afraid to give my talk without having my safety blanket, my safety blanket that I always had, But I proved that I could do it one other time when I did the Black History talk. But you know something? I don't need that safety blanket. I don't need that security blanket. I don't need that. I don't need that crutch. I'm going to give this talk straight from here. Straight from my heart. Wrapped up with love for my people. Because that's who you are. You're my people. I love you. I need you. You bring meaning for me. My world is meaningful because of you. I do not deceive myself into believing that I'm doing you some kind of favor. No, if anybody's doing anybody, you doing me a favor. And I am so blessed to be able to share the light that is within me with you, and to be a part of that creative principle spirit. So I want us to take all that in. I want us to reflect on these things. Because we got to constantly take it to the next level, people. We got to constantly take it to the next level. That is what is within us to do. And we can't take it to the next level if we're constantly looking outside, thinking there's something out there to blame, and so whatever, I'm not getting it because of this, because of that, because this person over there, because, we have to expand our consciousness and understand that we are one people. So yeah, maybe you might be experiencing a certain situation, but you're only experiencing that situation because there's something else that's waiting to open up for you and bless you. Okay? So let's say, for example, it's a job. Let's say you lost a job and it's not fair, you're unhappy and things like that. But I want you to stand out of your own personal consciousness for yourself and think about how that job that is now open was probably an answered prayer for somebody else, for one of your brothers and sisters. And in order for you now to actually get this better job, you got to get away from this job. You got to learn about whatever you had to learn from this job, okay? And now it's time for you to go. And it's only until we begin to see ourselves as one where we can actually see truths like this. So in closing, faith awakens as consciousness rises to a high level. And I'm actually chopping up that saying. Let me say it again. Hold on one second. Okay, here it is. Faith awakens by lifting human consciousness to a higher place and responding to what is revealed. So, brothers and sisters, the devil is not real. Okay? Let's put up those toys so that we can step forward as a new people and raise our consciousness to a higher level. Now go and be that light that your Father, Mother, God intended for you to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Wonderful. Very inspiring. And we bless our offering. Divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Divine love flowing through me, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit, it is so now. Presentation today at our wellness forum on embryonics. Crew, would you raise your hand, please? Thank you so much. And my husband Michael for driving her in from the North Shore and helping us set up and all sorts of things he was doing behind the scenes there. So thank you, Crew and Michael. Charles Fillmore telling us how to get well today. I mean, it was just amazing. I mean, so much of unity is about healing inner and outer. And the way it was presented just made perfect sense. Will you please stand for closing prayers? The light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is, and you are safe and secure. The Lord watches between me and thee, while we are absent, one from the other, and helps us to know that we are all one in spirit through our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Will you get in a circle for our peace song, please?